Happy New Year!
Ew.
Welcome, everybody, to the last live stream of 2018. Wow. What a year, dude.
It has been quite the year, man.
What a year.
There you go. Yeah, talking to the mic might help a little bit.
Maybe.
Yeah, you know.
Maybe just a little.
Yeah, it's overrated.
So, we have a few things to talk about. Just a few, though. First, we're going to start off with the fact that there are apparently Chinese notebooks online with RTX 2080s.
Ooh.
To be honest with you, though, when I looked at the page, it looked really boring.
Yeah.
Didn't really breed a whole lot of excitement for me, like most things do when it comes to new releases like this.
Well, the other thing, too, is it was very quickly taken down. It's clearly, I don't want to say a small company, but it's clearly kind of a not well-funded in terms of their site development funding company.
We almost need to draw more attention to the fact that this was a huge embargo breach.
Yeah, I think
this company, NVIDIA, is not happy, I'm sure.
No.
But the notebook contained the things that you would expect out of it. You know, 64 gigs of memory, two M.2 slots, two 2.5-inch drive slots. The weird thing, though, was that it was a Z370 chipset. And it showed support for both 8th and 9th gen, which I know technically Z370 will support 8th gen chips, or 9th gen chips technically, but due to the amount of stress that it puts the VRMs through because of its power phase design, that you just smoke it out. So I wonder what this particular notebook manufacturer did to even make that work, if that is like a legitimate statement.
Yeah, and looking at it, I mean, that very easily could be, because I mean, that was the other thing that you noted, was that it only has a 1080p screen with the 2080. Like, this...
I mean, it makes sense, though.
Does it?
Yeah, because it's an RTX 2080 to where... the 20 series cards have been focused primarily on 1080p performance anyways with ray tracing.
No, you're not wrong, but I mean, at the same time, I feel like just in general, in 2019 coming up, like a $2,000-$3,000 system, you expect there to at least be an option for more than 1080p.
And I'm sure there would be if this was not some cheapo Japanese/Chinese notebook. The only thing it really had going for it was an offset trackpad, which tends to be all the rage nowadays with all you crazy kids. I mean, honestly, I always turn my trackpad off when I type on a notebook anyway, because I just slide my fat hands all over the notebook to begin with. So, other than that...
Yeah, I don't have that issue, but I mean, I could see I don't know, what this is kind of interesting to me about is just that they're coming. If they've hit to the point where a relatively small or relatively non-impactful company can put them up, that means that there's marketing materials out there for a lot of those notebooks.
Yeah, if these guys were able to release the information on their product way early, that only means that we can expect everybody else to be ready to go, obviously. I just hope there are better offerings than this. I mean, we're guaranteed to get better offerings than this at this point.
Absolutely.
Without a doubt. But 4K G-Sync, I would like to see in a notebook. Even though it's a little too early for that, I think. I don't think the notebook industry is quite ready for a 4K G-Sync notebook that can actually do what it needs to do. I read a really interesting article to kind of go off base a little bit. I read a really interesting article a couple of days ago about how the PC industry is crippled because of the lack of available monitor screens for manufacturing.
Yeah, and that brings up the G-Sync question, too, because at this point, NVIDIA is really the only holdout that are sticking the proprietary that you have to license. I kind of get the impression that that is harming that tech.
Yeah, like in order for you to design an LCD or even any kind of display with G-Sync, you have to use a G-Sync module or like the tech that's harnessed within the G-Sync module itself.
Yeah,
and then it's got to be certified, and it's a lengthy process, but you get to use like the NVIDIA G-Sync moniker, obviously. I don't know how much of a value that is to a lot of people anymore, especially with FreeSync being available, and a lot of people just not even really caring about G-Sync altogether, even though ever since I started using a G-Sync monitor, it's been night and day difference. In gaming, for me at least.
I mean, I've heard you rave about it. What I'm curious to see is kind of what we were talking about a little bit last week is how AMD's hitting a little bit of a rough patch right now. I'm curious to see if, they're not necessarily rough patch, but they're making some interesting decisions.
Hey, you still wear whitey tidies?
I'd be curious to
Tidy
see
whities.
if they ever end up getting to the point where they would start considering doing FreeSync capable cards, or if they're going to stick to the proprietary no matter what.
Yeah, Mutation 666 says, honestly, he doesn't think tech matters. G-Sync, that is, since it costs more money and you really only need that with lower-end GPUs. Yeah, I mean, that's true. We have a few people here, Mutation, that have, like, 1080 cards, and they just either play without V-Sync even enabled, or they use, like, a monitor with a high refresh rate, and at that point, it really doesn't matter, and I got to agree, because I use a way to be able to show my frame rates in the top left corner. I honestly can't even remember what the application is called at the moment, but I rarely ever hit 160 frames, which is like right around where my monitor caps for G-Sync. And if you're not going over the frames that your refresh rate is going to exceed at that point, then G-Sync is kind of pointless. It really is, because you can go without V-Sync or G-Sync as long as you're not going over the refresh rate of your monitor, and everything's going to run fine. It's going to look good. No lag there, no input lag especially. So I think if we were able to get displays that could hit higher refresh rates to where it's practically impossible to even cap over that, it would technically render G-Sync and FreeSync completely obsolete, right?
Well, true, and I think what Mutation hit there is kind of where what I'm getting to. Is if it was free or the parity or the cost parity was there, meaning if G-Sync and FreeSync were comparable in terms of price.
But they're not.
But they're not.
No.
Like, so even if you go with an NVIDIA and an AMD card and you want to get the Sync Tech, we'll call it, or whatever you want to, however you want to word it.
Sure.
If you want to get a G-Sync monitor, that's like $100 more than the FreeSync comparison. So if you want to go with that solution versus an AMD solution, not only are AMD cards traditionally a little bit cheaper, you also have to spend more on the monitor for NVIDIA. And that's what I'm curious on, is are we going to see kind of those two markets separate out a little bit more?
A-Dubs, what's up, man? A-Dubs apparently got a FreeSync 144 hertz monitor with the 1070, and he got cancer. Sorry to hear about that. And I have a screwdriver in my pocket, in case any of you were wondering.
I thought you were just happy to see me.
No, that was earlier today when I had absolutely nothing in my pocket. Right? Yeah, and the game changer for me with this whole FreeSync G-Sync display debacle, war, whatever you want to call it, was when Samsung TVs started to support FreeSync. Because that also now kind of carries over into what consoles are capable of doing. That's good. I'm glad you think your monitor's perfect, A-Dubs. I'm sure it is. 144 hertz, dude, that's plenty for gaming. You don't need me to tell you that. Xbox One X supports a feature that's kind of a derivative of FreeSync, since it's AMD tech anyway, that practically does the exact same thing.
Wait, and I mean, it feels like everybody, with the exception of NVIDIA, is kind of adopting that FreeSync standard. Like, it almost feels like they're kind of being left behind a little bit on that. But at the same time, you can look at it, like if you look at it with the CPU comparison, you know, you have SMT and you have hyperthreading, which realistically do the same thing, but hyperthreading definitely did a lot more in terms of market share and marketing. So maybe there is something to it.
Hyperthreading overall was just able to utilize, it was a matter of processing things within Windows or any other variable operating system that ended up just being a lot more time-saving, I guess is the best way to put it, compared to SMT.
Yeah, I think that's
That was actually when AMD split between Intel, because originally AMD was headed down the course of adopting more of like a hyper-threading way of processing tasks, and then for some reason they completely veered the opposite, and that's when Bulldozer happened, and then AMD was slammed significantly for the way that Bulldozer processed tasks as opposed to the way that Intel CPUs were, and it's kind of been a catch-up race ever since, I think. But you know, AMD has been a lot more on track than they have been ever with Threadripper, so that's a good thing, right?
No, anyways, Ryzen has been awesome.
Yeah, let's jump into your topic, Sean.
Oh, yeah. So while we're talking about processors, Foxconn, which the name may sound familiar to some of you guys. Foxconn's been in the news a decent amount.
They also make iPhone products?
Yeah, they make iPhones, motherboard components, they make a lot of essentially tech manufacturing is where they focus on. But why you might remember them is they're the suicide net company that a couple of years ago, they had factory workers jumping out of windows enough that they put nets up to catch them.
Which you would think also in turn, they're also helping the people that work for the companies that make those suicide nets stay in business and therefore feeding other families. So it's almost a sacrifice, if you think about it. right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Now, what's interesting with Foxconn though is they're getting into chip manufacturing, so they're actually going to start trying to compete with what is it, TSMC, and other chip manufacturers to build a new plant, which is interesting, I suppose. They've come out. It's going to be a $9 billion plant, which is fairly expensive, but when compared to some other plants for chip manufacturing, it's actually a little bit lower in cost than you'd expect. I think some of the other ones are like 15 or 20 billion. So what's interesting with this, though, is that it's going to be largely subsidized by the Chinese government and is most likely the reason this whole thing is coming around is the growing tensions that we've been seeing, not only between the U.S. and China, but also on the tech side of things. There are lawsuits flying every which way between Western-based and Chinese-based companies about like patent infringement and a lot of things like that. So what we're seeing with this is China is trying to potentially bring in their own manufacturing process because that's something they really don't have right now.
Yeah, and especially with all the tariffs that the U.S. is facing, it's more of a reason for China to kind of bring business internal more instead of relying on the U.S. to bring a lot of business to them. So that would make sense, I guess. Which is interesting that we're talking about Foxconn, considering that there's a lot of people in Foxconn that are starting to boycott Apple products. Like they used to actually hand out iPhones to employees. It's like, hey, we manufacture them. Now they're giving away highway devices now. Like you will get a free highway device if you use that instead of a Huawei, whatever. If you use that instead of an iPhone, which it's kind of weird.
Well, Huawei's
considering
partially owned by the Chinese government.
Oh, that's not a conflict of interest at all.
No, I mean that's how a significant amount of businesses run over there. There's a lot of the government is a primary shareholder in certain industries.
Wow.
Fun stuff.
I guess that's more of a reason for Apple to start bringing manufacturing into the U.S. if they ever start doing that.
Didn't the iPhone X already cost like $1,200?
Dude, it was an obscene amount of money, and they're taking a bath on it to try and compete with Samsung, and it is not working.
I mean,
at all.
You started the smartphone game. You had a good run. You know what I mean? I don't think...
Yeah, no, I know. They should consider other avenues for sure. And yeah, I know it's normal. And how you doing, Regulus? Thanks for joining. I know that's completely normal, but still, I just I don't see this ending well for Foxconn, but we'll see. Apple has a lot of money to burn, so if they end up pulling out manufacturing from Foxconn and going elsewhere, they can and they should. Especially if Foxconn's starting to make more chip, starting to get into the CPU manufacturing sector of things. I mean, got to be careful, Apple. Not that I really care for Apple personally.
I think Foxconn could lose Apple and still be okay.
If they keep heading in this direction, they would.
Yeah.
But Foxconn got where they're at because of Apple manufacturing. I mean, they've been manufacturing for Apple ever since like 2002. So,
but if you look at like something I always find interesting is the socket covers that we put on our CPUs. If you ever look at them,
they're Foxconn.
Almost all of them are Foxconn.
They're Foxconn.
Yeah,
no,
so
they make a lot of raw board.
About every pie.
They make a lot of raw board materials that we see in things today. I remember when they used to make boards. Yeah. They used to make boards. The last set of boards I've seen from Foxconn that you could actually see surface was right before socket 775, when there were AGP slots. AGP slots. You do a lot of business there, and you have to bribe to get anything done. Wow, really?
I mean,
that's awful.
That's how a lot of the world works.
Oh, I know that, but still, to have it be brought up on the surface enough to the point to where it can actually be a conversational piece on a live stream, that's bad.
Yeah.
It's kind of like you see the way that a lot of people are posting on Twitter about their political views, and there's just no filter anymore. There used to be people in the public eye that would keep their opinions to themselves because it wasn't about being political, and now everybody's doing that. It's kind of the way business is starting to turn, and it's going to get ugly.
Well, I don't know about you. I remember like way back in the day, there used to be you don't talk about religion and politics. Like that was always now everybody's just like Facebook.
Yeah, so we don't want to talk about Fight Club.
Nah, dog.
Nobody wants to talk about Fight Club because it's the rule.
Well, yeah, and you don't want to give out information that you shouldn't be giving out.
Yeah, this is true. But I mean, no information is safe nowadays. Within the wrong hands, nothing is safe as far as that goes. And I was saying the same thing, Regulus. Apple has tons of cash to burn. I mean, they have a lot to lose, but at the same time, they don't. I feel like Tim Cook really hasn't been doing a good job at the helm either, in my opinion. Nothing can be fixed when it comes to China until they fix their currency, which is why tariffs would work with any other country in the world but China, because China doesn't care if they harm their citizens. Yeah.
Man, I don't know anything that you're talking about, but it sounds good.
Freedom of speech, gone, bye. Yeah. Man, it's rough.
Yeah.
I don't even know where to start, to be honest with you, on that topic. And not to mention the whole tariff situation, it's just forcing everybody to bring manufacturing out of China anyway. So,
I mean, that's what it's designed to do.
It was initially designed to bring manufacturing to the U.S. because the thought process was, hey, well, if we can't get things sent from overseas, we're just going to build things stateside. So then there's no tariffs. But the amount of money that it costs to move everything stateside is an obscene amount. It's supposed to be a bigger picture kind of plan, and nobody's really looking at the bigger picture. They're just looking at the immediate losses, which most people do. And this is the result. So now we'll just start getting a lot of things from Taiwan. Tim Cook trying to kill Apple. Yeah, wouldn't it be crazy if he was doing all this just to bring Apple stock down, and then the next thing we know, Tim Cook has signed with Microsoft. Or Tim Cook has started his own company. We'll see.
Well, I mean, it's the same kind of thing. Like, I think the same thing's going to happen to Tesla whenever Elon Musk kicks the bucket. I'm not saying that's going to be soon.
Oh, man. Don't say that.
But Tesla and Apple both had that kind of similar relationship with their CEO, where that was such a massive source of personality, where once they're gone, it doesn't matter how good Tim Cook is. He's not Steve Jobs. I think that's going to play into it. And I think we're going to see the same thing happen with Tesla.
Yeah, nobody's Steve Jobs. That's a good thing and a bad thing, to be honest with you.
Oh, I mean, yeah, he was a monster, but he brought some cool stuff to the market.
He was a lucrative monster.
He was a very lucrative monster that died because he ate fruit.
Elon Musk is an android. That would certainly make a lot more of his statements interesting, Reglos. Also, if he was in Fallout, I'd want him to be my companion. Just
Actually,
saying.
that would be a pretty cool mod.
Elon Musk, android, yeah. Because you'd be like, man, this laser gun sure is low in damage. I got to find a new one. Look, I improved it for you. Now you can go to space. Well, no, I just wanted it. You can go to space. Okay, done. I'm not going to argue with you anymore because I don't want to die in my sleep. So, Elon Musk is a modded companion in Fallout 4. I will replay Fallout 4 all over again.
I'll actually play Fallout 4.
You never played Fallout 4?
I got through like 2 hours of it.
I don't know where to start.
Look, man, Fallout 3 was awesome. I didn't like building my base and all that crap. And
you don't have to build bases though.
I didn't like that part of the game, and also it felt like Fallout 3 just reskinned for me.
I would have felt the same way if crafting wasn't there. And I told myself that before Fallout 4 came out, that if there was no crafting system because you're in the damn apocalypse, and what else can you do? Because it's not like you could walk into a store and buy things. So I probably wasn't going to play it again. And then as soon as crafting came along, I was like, sweet, until it forces you to then hoard everything that you normally wouldn't, and then you become over-encumbered within every 15 minutes of the game, and you have to somehow fast travel to a town where you're like on the tip of being over-encumbered to begin with. So, yes, even Alien Icon says that's gross.
I mean...
And Weasley said it was a freaking masterpiece!
It was alright.
Wow. I kind of feel like you're almost saying this to get people to become angry to talk to us more.
That might be part of it.
Like, come on, guys. Fallout 4 sucks. Changed my mind.
I'm not saying Fallout 4 sucks. It just wasn't my movement, man.
Just kidding. Don't die. Mine spoke too quick. Love you, Sean, but seriously, play the game.
Maybe. Maybe not.
Well, you should definitely play Fallout 76 then, because I heard that's awesome.
Oh, geez. Man, these poor people have heard us talk about how crappy Fallout 76 is so much. Bet you like Nickelback. Hey, look, man.
He does look like he would like Nickelback, doesn't he? You can deny it all you want, but your sweater says, I love me some Nickelback.
Look, Joe.
Sean pulls out a photo with him wearing the sweater.
This is how you remind me. All right. Yeah, so I mean,
played 2 hours.
I don't like Nickelback.
You could make up your mind a lot quicker
like
about
Kesha,
a video
though.
game within 2 hours.
Kesha makes some bangers. Oh, we're talking about terrible music that people like?
I mean, we went from rock to like hip-hop or R&B. Oh, that's even better.
Oh, no, yeah, it's not good.
Pop way
Party
better
Don't
than
Stop
Nickelback.
Till I Walk In.
Dude,
Yes.
I would listen to the Spice Girls on repeat an hour every day if that meant I never had to listen to another damn Nickelback song ever out of coincidence,
Wait,
out of
I'm
being in the
sorry.
wrong place at the wrong
Sir.
time. Don't care.
What's so bad about the Spice Girls?
I didn't say they were bad.
I mean, you're comparing an hour of the Spice Girls a day to Nickelback. Okay, that feels like you're talking some mad crap.
We're drawing some conclusions here. Sean's wearing a Nickelback sweater. He likes the Spice Girls.
I'm sorry, do you not like the Spice Girls?
I never said I didn't. I just said I'd rather listen to the Spice Girls as opposed to Nickelback.
All right, Fallout 4, Regulos. Fallout 4 was the start of the decline. It was fun but more boring. I wish they would have just let the studio that did New Vegas go to town.
Oh, you mean the original studio? You mean the original creators of Fallout who were once Interplay and then became Obsidian? Yeah, could not agree more.
Yeah, but it was the thing. Fallout 4 did not feel like as much of a step. I didn't like Fallout 4 for the same reason I didn't like Borderlands, the pre-sequel, that much. It's because it didn't feel like the next game in a series. It felt like a half step.
Hey, Dubs. Hey, guys, you smell that dead horse? Neither do I, because it's decayed beyond smelling anymore. Are you talking about the Fallout 4 or...
Fallout 76. He has to be talking about Fallout 76.
Hey, Dubs. Or are we talking about the sweater? I don't know anymore. We get these comments that get thrown at us sometimes that are about previous topics that we already moved on past, and then we get roped back in. So I just want clarification. And MD Tamim Zawad, I hope I pronounced that properly, says that we need to improve our water cooling option and RAM option. I mean, how many configurations have you looked at, though? Because half of the time I have to use our filters to go through the amount of RAM options we have, because it is just a ridiculous amount of options. And liquid cooling, we tend to narrow those down based on the kinds of builds that you're working with, i.e. cases in the configurator, because we're not going to offer you a triple radiator in a small form factor case. Look, lady, I can't put a 360 millimeter radiator inside this, what is it, EVGA Hadron case.
Why not?
Reasons. Physically, ma'am, it is a physical impossibility. Physically impossible.
You know, I get the impression you've had to have this conversation multiple times, Joe.
No, I was actually just talking to Zach yesterday about how he had to use his look lady line at a woman at McDonald's because he knew who to give the right away to. And I told him somehow the conversation turned into we should have a look lady portion of our live stream where it's just Zach and it pans to him, kind of like weekend update. And he can talk about like all of his experiences with like the builds we've run into and like the special stuff. Look, lady, I forget the example he used. Oh, look, lady, we can't overclock your 9700K to 6 gigahertz on air. Like, I think Zach would be like perfect for that section, and we should probably try it out next year. It'd be entertaining. We just have to make sure that we're really discreet about any situations that we decide to create out of actual real life scenarios. Which
we'd also have to get better with the bleep button.
They have all the water cooling options. You just have to call Kyle.
You are exactly correct.
Kyle would water cool a stick of butter for you if you really wanted it to happen. That's Kyle in a nutshell.
Mm-hmm.
But can you just use butter on my CPU? Not that I think it's going to cool anything any better, but I like the way it smells when it hits 98 degrees Fahrenheit.
Or if you're trying to be heart healthy, he'll even throw in some margarine.
Oh, don't you ever bring that word up. No. It's an abomination to man, margarine. Goat butter? Only women named Marjorie use margarine, and that's of no coincidence. Grandmas use margarine.
I mean, where else are you going to get those really pleasant little Tupperware containers?
That you end up just reusing for food containers, and then you have 6 of them in your fridge, and then you don't remember what's in them, so you're forced to open every single one? You know out there's been a guy that's like had 6 of those in his fridge. And
oh, yeah.
I'm going to take my lunch to work, and he opens it, and it's just margarine.
It's the world's worst game of Russian roulette. You're just like, what's going to be in here?
Butter roulette?
I wore it yesterday in a snowstorm. I got my hat. Oh, nice.
Oh, sweet, dude. Hope you enjoy it. Because I never put it on once when I got it. It just sat on my desk, and I was like, sweet, a beanie. I don't wear hats.
Oh, is it those gray ones?
Yeah. It's
the
one Wesley has.
Yeah.
Wears it every single day. I'm pretty sure at this point, if it could be 80 degrees out, Wesley would still wear that hat. Which is okay.
I mean,
it's a fashion choice.
Yeah, I like it better than a Compton hat.
Andy Grammer could wear that sweater, and I'd get an Andy vibe from him.
Andy Grammer?
I don't know who Andy Grammer is, and if I had a notebook, I'd look it up.
All right. We got to Google.
So just in case anybody is wondering, Sean has his notebook here today, and I don't, because I thought it would be a fantastic idea to hot flash the BIOS on my notebook for a USB issue it's been having, only for it to boot successfully once, and then the BIOS stopped recognizing the M.2 in it. So
man, I'm googling this Andy Grammer dude,
yeah,
and
let's
it's
see
not
Andy
helping.
Grammer.
I still don't know who
What
this is.
Andy Grammer? I can't see it. I can't make out any of the letters. There we go. What's on the right? What's he do? Go to the right. I want to see. Yeah, right there. American singer-songwriter. I mean, at least it's not. At least they didn't say you look like Josh Groban, because that's like the worst backhanded compliment you could ever receive.
Groban likes his ladies to pop.
You like Josh Groban, don't you?
No, I'm a fan of It's Always Sunny, and he has a couple funny
Got it.
Episodes.
Okay, fair enough. I respect that opinion.
Yeah, who the Andy Grammer?
What did A-Dub, what was the comment A-Dub said? I can't. It's cut off. I can't read it.
Yeah, what is it? I heard someone try.
I heard someone tried. He friend told me to call Jesus. Oh, I don't know that song.
Yeah, it doesn't help me even a little bit.
Someone want to sing it? How does the Honey I'm Good song go? Can we play it? Someone sing it. Let's do this. Are you gonna play it? Can you play it?
Yeah, we might.
Will it get audio through the stream if you play it? Let's hear this. Come on.
Well, yeah, we have to
Do
be
it.
careful. That might get us taken down.
Do it now. I mean, it won't get us taken down. It's not like we make money on these live streams. Best Baby Shark ever.
What?
Was that the one? Did he do the Baby Shark with that that host of the night show in UK? Is that what you're referring to?
Oh, James Corden?
Yeah. Is that the guy who did it? Or are you referring to Josh Groban? Because that was nightmare fuel. 100% that was nightmare fuel. I couldn't sleep that night. Just Josh Groban, Baby Shark, do, Baby Shark. No. Sounds like something else, and I'd rather it be that version. I could have another. See, I don't know what's going on.
I am so confused. Do you want to get to the next story?
I know it's going to bother me. What is that song? Someone's got to find it. Are you trying to figure out how to play it like through the speakers and such without mirroring our? Do we have to like mute our mics?
Yeah.
So.
I feel like we have to mute your mic.
Okay, I'm gonna cover the mic here real quick because I got to hear this. It's gonna bother me like supremely. Okay, that was the worst mistake of my life. I know that song. I don't like that song. It makes me want to throw myself out of a moving car, rip my ears out, and stuff my head with marshmallows.
Send the hat back, man. Come on. Freaking evil.
Okay, now we should move on to the next topic before I throw up all over myself.
You sure you don't want to hear another bit of it?
No, let's talk about people peeing 2060 cards. I mean, more leaks are on the 2060 cards that are supposedly happening.
So the interesting thing on this, obviously, we've heard about the 2060. You've heard that ad nauseum. Gigabyte's been listing some cards, whatever. But what's interesting is, so there's the EEC, which is the Eurasian Economic Commission, which essentially they register projects.
ECC.
Eurasian.
So
Europe, Asia.
A Europe Asian.
Where they'll list things that they're going to be selling. Now, what's interesting, though, is Gigabyte put up about 40 cards with a grand total of 6 different variants of the 2060.
Oh, my God!
Right. So the 1060 came in mostly, 2, right? The 3 gig and the 6 gig.
It was 2, 3, and 6.
That's it. With the 2060, they're coming out with, allegedly, a 3, a 4, and a 6 gig. That's 3. In GDDR5, and a 3, a 4, and a 6 gig in GDDR6.
What the hell is the point?
The idea is most likely that yields on GDDR6 aren't super high right now, and they still have a bunch of GDDR5 in stock.
Hey guys.
As far as from a tech and performance level, why are they doing it? Who knows?
That'd be like going to a restaurant because they release a new dish, and you're like, yeah, I'll take that. But like, yeah, but before we can serve that to you, we have a bunch of leftovers from the night prior. Could you eat those first, and then we'll give you the new baby back ribs?
Yeah. And
no!
What needs to be said, too, though, is there were, back in the Maxwell Kepler days, there were certain variants of cards that were super budget that were only sold in China and Taiwan. So that is one of the possibilities here, that we, over in the U.S., aren't going to see all of them. We're going to only see 4 out of these 6 or 3 out of these 6 or whatever may come.
Since we're talking about things that we shouldn't be seeing that we're seeing anyway, there was a Reddit thread that I saw yesterday from a guy that was mining he was doing something on his system trying to pull the VBIOS off of it and saw in the VBIOS utility in DOS that it was a 1080C card. You ever heard of the 1080C cards? Mm-mm. It's the C stands for cloud. It's essentially the 10 series cards that were not released in the West, within the Western Hemisphere, and they were designed for either mining or they were designed for like cloud computing. So like, do you remember when NVIDIA was offering the grid cards? Mm-hmm. It's basically the same thing that we do kind of in a way with some of the NVIDIA tech in our MEVR system, except it's like licensed, ready to go hardware for you to use it as you see fit. Okay. And so, yeah, some guy in I think it was like in Alabama was just like, oh, I got a 1080C card. Everyone's like, cool. You shouldn't, but I mean, that's great. So I don't know how that could happen. Maybe a mistake in the manufacturing plant where they were boxed. Who knows?
Yeah, but, it had to have been something like that.
Well, the only major difference outside of that with those cards was that they didn't have like the same video ports, if at all, when you bought them because they were used for mining, so they could be run headless. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But still. Anyway, so not only are we going to have 3 different variants, we're by technicality talking about 6 because it's split between GDDR5 and GDDR6.
Yeah, exactly, which already because... And remember last week what we were talking about is that in all reality, there's most likely going to be a 2060, and there's also a good possibility that there's going to be a 1160 or 1660 coming out from NVIDIA.
This just makes no sense, man.
Man, they're just making their product segments more and more difficult to understand, it seems. But the other thing that we do need to mention is that these are still just rumors, so keep that in mind.
Hey, Dubs, I would like one with 3.5 gigs, please.
All right, this is when we need Zach in here to do the look lady.
Listen, lady, it's not real VRAM. It's shared, and it's only 500 gigs, and it doesn't make a difference. The price stays the same. Yeah, I think NVIDIA is going to be real careful about making sure they don't repeat those mistakes again, now that they know that we as consumers are paying very close attention. Just saying.
They've just been doing some real creative stuff.
Some guy get all the
NVIDIA
things.
GTX 1666. Hail Satan.
What?
Right? 666?
I mean, but he didn't say Hail Satan.
Yeah, but wasn't that the joke?
I mean, that could be anything. He could have just picked that random number. What? Why Hail Satan?
The number of the beast?
Is that a
Satan? To Iron Maiden?
Is that a Satan sweater that you're wearing? Is that what this is? Is that what you Hail Satan? Yes. Okay. Makes sense now. 1666.
I mean, yeah, it's just...
Wow.
It's getting a little crazy. I wonder, though, if when they fill up all the part numbers, if they're going to go back and there's going to be like a 1081. Just to screw with us. All right, get to see the PC in a week. I'm waiting to fix my...
I don't get it. LifeX shelf project, then we'll get a whole suite of pics. Well, send us pics, man. His PC. Yo PC. Send us some pics of Yo PC.
Pixar didn't happen.
Please. Yeah. Pixar didn't happen, even though we watched it happen here. Yeah. Right? Oh. So we're going to move on to something that is just completely off topic, but still interesting.
Yeah. Tangentially related to tech.
Yeah, Toyota wants to build you an Android. Well, they want you to own an Android built by them, but it's going to start off as a robotic buddy, right? And it kind of looks like the machines that you see in the hospital that like control your life support and stuff. The fundamental problem with Toyota recognizing when it comes to self-help robotics as it relates to improving quality of life is that when you tend to make robots that are a lot more intricate in their function, they tend to become heavier. When they become heavier, they are less practical for them to fold your laundry. Because nobody wants a 1.5-ton robot folding towels and scaring the hell out of your kids. So that makes absolutely no sense. But they do want to put money into androids and robotics. How much money, you say? Well, $29 billion is their spending budget. Yeah, right? Give me a quarter of that and I'll be happy. Don't build me a robot, just give me your money. And then I don't need robots anymore because I have money. At the end of the day, though, if we get to that day and age within my lifetime to where we see androids in the household, if it don't look like Robin Williams, I want nothing to do with it.
Is that a Bicentennial Man reference?
Yes, it is. You gained some respect with me, Sean. Congratulations.
Toyota saw Honda Osmo and they want one of their own. Yeah. Have you ever seen the Honda Android?
I have not.
It's like a little...
Male or female?
Genderless. It's an Android. Why are you trying to put these gender norms on it, man? You can't do that anymore.
Don't start this topic. This is not appropriate.
Anyway,
I won't be able to control myself.
It's about like that tall. It looks kind of like a child dressed up as an astronaut is what it looks like, but it will walk around and it can talk. It's kind of neat. What? Yeah, Honda's had this for, I want to say like 10 years or something.
10 years?
Yeah, right there.
A child dressed as an astronaut.
That's what it looks like.
That is an astronaut. What do you mean child? How do you know that? How do you know that's not a grown man in that suit?
Oh, he retired. Hey, this
Toyota's like, we can have the spotlight now.
Yeah, our turn.
We can't compete with their cars quite yet, but we can get them in the robot industry.
Oh, man, so maybe honestly, that might be why Toyota's like, hey.
They should create a jump to conclusions droid. It's got different conclusions that it can help you jump to. But anyway, with the use of AI in these androids, I now officially fear for my life. So I'm hoping that by the time I'm in my 60s and getting close to just not really caring about living anymore, that's when this stuff starts to eke its way into the way of life of the human race. And that's when I guess I will show my age, because the new generation will be like, Grandpa, it's a robot. He's just doing your dishes. I'll get the hell away from me.
Do something like with the 3 laws of robotics or something.
Yeah. Kind of like the way like RoboCop was designed, where he had 3 laws that he had to abide by, and he couldn't break them. You give that to androids. And
that's from Isaac Asimov, the guy that did like iRobot.
Oh, iRobot, yeah.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah. $29 billion or yen? No, doll hairs. Dollars. You use yours to host
crazy.
Octoprint for the 3D printer. I don't use another for game emulation. I don't play. Oh, okay. Well, to each his own.
You do you, man.
Using all your pies, though, for home automation and outdoor lighting. See, that's cool. And I kind of regret not buying a Raspberry Pi in place of the new PlayStation Classic console, because I bought it at the release price just for them to drop it $40. Yeah. I guess there's like a lot of GameStops that are stuck with like 40 of these things.
I believe it.
Because they anticipated like a huge demand, and then Sony was like, here's our game list, and everyone was like, never mind.
Yeah, the game list sucked. You can't do it.
No Spyro.
The saving grace of the PlayStation Classic.
No Crash Bandicoot.
The saving grace is that it's easy to hack. I feel like that really is...
I don't support that. That's stealing. We don't do that or advocate that here.
Right. But that's the only selling point that's left for that thing, right? It doesn't have the games you want to play. You have to use the old controllers. Don't even have, like, joysticks that work properly.
I know.
Like, where's the upside here, man?
Also, no Resident Evils.
Yeah.
None.
Or no ability, you have the PlayStation Network, no ability to get more games or provide the ability for people to upgrade, like...
No, I know. And you're not wrong, Regulos. Regulos feels that the AI jokes aside, that AI is a serious issue because left unchained and we will have Skynet. No, I know. That was like part of the huge reason as to why Elon Musk was trying to put so many securities around AI technology and was very careful in the way that he wanted to implement them as to not put us in the brink of a war against an AI infrastructure, which...
I mean, that's part of it, but at the same time, I feel like a lot of the stuff that you get your big people like Elon Musk talking about AI, a lot of why they talk about it is because it draws your attention.
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean? I feel like...
I don't think he's like President Trump draw your attention, though.
No, I don't think he's trying to do that, but I think that's why that's brought up as much as the dangers of AI. Meanwhile, we're nowhere near it. Being, autonomous or Skynet, which I find is kind of interesting.
So I don't know if you meant, Rudo, if you meant God of War. But you said Dad of War.
Sony has Dad of War and Spider-Man. They can take a loss on PS Classic. I
mean, if you show me an IP by Sony that's called Dad of War, I'll give it a shot.
Oh, I would play that more than I played Fallout 4.
It's just like a dad running through a child's playroom. It's a mess. And rather than like try to be like nice and reason with the child about why they should put their toys away, he just throws a match and a pile of gasoline covered in toys and just lights it all on fire. Just points upstairs to their room.
Just goes full Rambo.
Just no conversation. Just
you drew first blood.
Stuff's on fire. Go.
Dad of War is the latest God of War. I'll play it.
Oh, wow! I feel old. I get it. Because he has a son, and you're with your son, and yeah.
Oh, see, I was just picturing Kratos, like, kicking ass at some barbecues, playing some wiffle ball.
No, you cannot have my barbecue sauce recipe.
Yeah.
You will fight me to the death.
Yeah, instead of carving the turkey with, like, a knife, he has one of those whatever
Schmitter?
giant weapons. Yeah.
Schmitter or whatever. That's a sweet barbecue vest you have there. This is my nightgown. Oh. Okay. He has 5 moms because, you know, Kratos. I don't know.
I mean...
So you want to talk about what's happening with AMD at CES?
Who's Your Daddy? Greatest Steam game ever.
Sean has Shower with Your Dad Simulator, by the way.
I do.
He has yet to finish it. He's just a hair close to the end. He's really got to scrub for the final ending.
Mm-hmm.
Sean's like, I don't need Dad Simulator. I don't need Shower with Your Dad Simulator.
Anyway, so CES is coming up in, what, week and a half? 2 weeks?
Oh, man. 2 weeks.
The 8th of January is when it starts.
And we'll be there.
Oh, well, you will be.
We as a presence. Like, we're all in this together. In spirit.
All right, so you're
Heart,
giving
body,
me
and
crap
mind.
earlier for Nickelback, and you're over here quoting High School Musical.
I didn't even know that was a line from High School Musical. If
it out there.
anything,
Just
that
putting
makes
it
you
out
lose
there.
a little bit of credibility because you knew that was from High School Musical.
We're all in it. Anyway, at CES, AMD, by all accounts, will be launching a Radeon consumer graphics card. This marks the first consumer card they've had since the Vega 64, correct?
Yes.
So
this is correct.
It's been like, what, 2 years since they had a good one?
Will it be no years since they've had a good one? Because will this be the card to break them all?
I believe.
I believe. I believe.
Lisa Su will be discussing the 7-nanometer process a little bit more, and in all reality, we will be talking about new APUs, or we might see some new APUs from AMD. Keep in mind, these are all probably still going to fit into the AM4 socket, so there actually may be some decent upgrade paths that we see become available in the next, 2 weeks.
I'm assuming that has to do with the High School Musical comment, but Alien Icon says, no, Sean. No.
I mean, I'm surprised she hasn't come out with, a water bottle and just...
Like you're a cat?
Well, you know, if I'm up on the counter too much.
Another year of CES is still no roll-up thin plastic phone display. Yeah, that'll probably happen when we have automated Androids in our households.
Didn't, was it LG or Samsung come out with a foldable...
LG, a TV?
Just a foldable screen, essentially.
Samsung. I think
yeah.
it might have been Samsung at first, and then LG premiered the check out our paper thin TV on the wall like a year ago, and that still doesn't happen. I can't see. I'm blind.
Baby Shark?
Do. Ah. Prime Regulus. Every CS has it on display, but it never releases. Do you think that's by coincidence?
I mean, it just reminds me a lot of Intel's 10-nanometer.
Everybody just plays the Stewart role from Mad TV. Look what I can do! That's great, but can I buy it? But look what I can do! Cool! That's why, personally, I don't have a huge interest in CES, because I am the kind of consumer that I really don't want to be able to see and look at something until I know I can buy it. Because then, the anticipation factor, right? I don't deal with anticipation very well when it comes to, purchases I'm looking forward to.
I just like to see neat stuff.
I do too. I got to see a mini helicopter from a private company earlier this year that was parked on top of an RV. And I'm like, oh, is that, do you own the RV? No, like we own the company that makes the RVs and the helicopters, and this is to demonstrate the fact that it's a mini helicopter and you can like literally land it anywhere almost. I'm like, oh, how much does that cost? We don't have a price for you. Of course not. No, right.
Regulos, that is 100% all CES is. Look what I can do someday, maybe.
Yeah, I know. And but that's why I like E3, with the exception of, companies coming out with games and reveals at E3 that are not even close to representative to what the final product becomes.
And I feel like you kind of need both of those in our industry. Like, you need the place where you go and this is the dream, and then you also have... this is what's actually coming out. I think having that dichotomy is important.
It is. I miss Mad TV too, Weasley.
We all do, man.
A lot of stars born from that show. Not really.
Yeah, I was going to say.
It's mostly Saturday Night Live. Will Sasso, I'm surprised that guy's career didn't kick off.
Yeah, Will Sasso was good. So was, what's the dude that had a huge drug problem? Artie Lang.
Artie Lang?
Mm-hmm.
He was even before Mad TV though. Like he
was
had a couple.
Mad TV.
He had a couple of stuff before he did Mad TV. Mad TV was kind of the way that Keenan became for Saturday Night Live. Like he was doing a few things, kind of hit a dead end, and then signed on full time. But who was the guy that did all of the John Madden commercial impersonations?
Frank Caliendo.
That guy was hilarious on Mad TV.
I feel so bad for that dude because he hit a gold mine with George W. Bush and John Madden both being like in
his prime.
Yeah, and he got those impressions, and then both of those guys retired, and he has not had a career since.
No, but he can do a really good Christopher Walken impression, though.
Oh, he's a great comedian. He's
really good.
Funny.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I really hope AMD makes a good comeback at CES, and I will see personally.
I think they will. I mean, even them just coming out with a new consumer card, that yay or nay, okay, but they're most likely going to be releasing new chips too, and their chips so far last couple of years have been great. I think it'll be at least a middling, if not good, CES.
Oh yeah, yeah. Regulus actually says he went to E3 last year, and it might be the last time he goes. I really cannot blame you, man. It's been an extremely underwhelming industry as far as gaming goes in those events. They end up releasing more exciting information outside of those events or in like off events. I mean, look at even Blizzard. We have a big announcement. It's the Diablo game for your phone, and it's our major focus.
Is it E3 that Sony decided that, you know what, no, we're not going to E3, we're going to have our own meeting in the same city?
Yep.
At the same time?
Yep. Because it's Sony. They can't really get away with that in the US, I feel like, but they could definitely get away with that in Asia, without a doubt. Which is why I was shocked to hear when the Xbox One X was outselling the PS4 worldwide. Crazy. Sony has just been dominating Microsoft in the console market for like the last decade outside of that, so...
Yeah, 360 did really well.
360 was solid, and their only saving grace was that they released the console ahead of everybody else, knowing full well it had problems, but also had a contingency plan in place to take care of those problems, so... even the party sucked. Dude, I don't doubt it. I went to a few at ITSEC, and I want to say that they sucked. They're just real. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting too old for parties. It was just like hey, stand here and eat a plate of food, have a few drinks, and just keep doing it for as long as you want until you feel like leaving. So I'm not really into that scene anymore, to be honest. We're having a gaming recession. Well, people can't afford games, or people can't afford to make games?
I think he's referring to the quality of games.
Yeah, well, I mean, dude, when I was young,
so for people
every
watching,
game that came out...
Wes in chat, I believe we are currently in a gaming recession, is what we're discussing.
Yes. And when you grew up in the early 90s, the games that you heard about the most were the ones that actually mattered, and the games that you didn't hear about, well, they probably didn't. So I remember probably... You'd get a solid game that would come out every quarter, depending on whatever console you liked, and then you would just play the hell out of that game until, paper-made snowflakes started to fall from the ground. So, it's either not holding up to the tape or we have ghosts in the studio.
Or both. A-Dubs agrees with Wes. We're definitely in a good game recession. I don't know if that... I think that... Yeah, there have been a lot more duds of games recently. I think absolutely.
Yeah, and there's just a lot of games that have a lot of promise that come out and miss the mark in a few ways. Like almost we don't have people in studios anymore that are doing it because they love doing it. It's more of a job now. I feel like, especially like Darksiders 3. Started to play a lot of Darksiders 3 because I love the franchise. But the biggest complaint about that game is that it doesn't matter what difficulty level that you put it on. It still feels like it's the same difficulty. And the dodging system is horrible. It's clunky as hell. It's uncomfortable. If they would have put the game in a few focus groups, or maybe if the testers would have just paid attention a little bit more compared to other games that are out there that are similar, like Bayonetta is a really good example. That's a game that has a really good feel to it in its fighting system. It probably would have ended up being a little bit better and well-rounded, but, you know.
Well, at the same time, though, don't you think that's, I don't want to say largely our fault, but partially our fault? Look at what happened with, right before Red Dead 2 came out, where the devs were like, yeah, the top guys in Rockstar right now are working 100-hour weeks. They're really putting it in, and they're putting a lot of work in. They got huge backlash for that.
Why?
They got backlash. They're overworking their employees.
Oh, sure.
People, so
that's them trying to meet a deadline and putting them under ridiculous work conditions. But there's been plenty of companies that have been like, hey, we're going to delay this 3 months because we want this to be the game you deserve. Good example, Irrational Games. Kevin from Irrational Games, the director, I can't remember his last name, when they were working on BioShock Infinite, they were going to release it like later in the year prior, and then he was like, you know what, we're going to hold this off until March next year because we're not comfortable with where it's at and we need to get it done. And that was a guy that I respected because every crew that worked under him, even when he was like directing BioShock 1 through Infinite, the conditions were fair. He was respectful. They listened to everybody's creative ideas because that guy went out publicly stating that he understood the value of like teamwork and using everybody's ideas collectively to make something good. And not a whole lot of studios do that anymore. Ubisoft was, if you remember, they caught huge backlash, and that's why they decided like we're gonna hold off from Assassin's Creed titles every year just because it's killing the IP, right? Even though that was actually happening.
And I think Ruru hits on a good point. It's not necessarily a gaming recession. There's just so many games coming out. I think that's definitely part of it.
Yeah, that's a good point, dude. I feel that myself personally. I feel like I have so many games on the back burner right now that I want to play. I just don't have enough time. And legit, a couple of days ago, I thought to myself, I wonder how many all-nighters I could pull to get through all these games.
Well, the other
that's
thing too
ridiculous.
Is I feel like a lot of times you think that it's worse now because you don't remember the crap that came out 10 years ago. You know what I mean? Like, how many crappy games, how many unworthwhile games do you remember from, 2000? Not that many.
From 2000? I didn't play a whole lot of games.
But you remember more good games. That's my point.
Yeah, I didn't play a whole lot of games in 2000, at least PC. Admittedly, I was heavy into PS2 at the time because of its relation to the launch date. Final Fantasy X was like one of the best last remaining Final Fantasy X games that I actually enjoyed. 13. The 13 trilogy, I kind of had to force myself to play just because I'm like, it's Final Fantasy. I like Final Fantasy. And yes, A-dubs, if you can do a great Alex Jones impression, we'll hire you. You have to send in your audition, though, to our Facebook page.
Yep.
And our messages. If you could do 2 or 3 different takes of Alex Jones, if you could specifically talk about the frogs in the water skit, that would be great.
Yeah.
That's more of a personal request for Zach because I know he'd probably enjoy that one.
Frogs in the water, chemtrails, the fact that tinfoil doesn't actually block the government from reading signals in your head, it amplifies them. And that's what they're trying to get you to do.
Are you a fan of Alex Jones?
A little bit, yeah. No, I find him super funny.
The look on your face when you hesitate to answer.
It's like performance art. It is hilarious.
I know, and I like how when that guy was like getting threatened in the divorce with a lot of really, really stiff fines, he was like, look, it's all an act. I'm an entertainer. I don't actually believe in this stuff. You can't use it against me in the divorce.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have Facebook? Twitter? Snail mail?
I mean, just email us.
Put it on a USB drive and ship it to us?
Yeah.
Or fly here and do your impressions live in the studio and we'll air it? You want to do that?
Yeah, no, we should.
Or drive here, dude. I don't know how far away you are from Twinsburg, Ohio, but if you want to come here on a Friday live stream and do your auditions live on air, we can do that.
Absolutely.
But you have to do the auditions while we're listening to a lot of 70s disco music, though. It's the only way this is going to work. Like Saturday Night Fever. And also, do a bit on how American you are.
Actually, wait. You give me enough heads up. I have the Bee Gees record from Saturday Night Fever.
Why am I not surprised at all? Do you have Careless Whisper on a vinyl too?
No, I do not have any Wham.
Sean, on bad days at work, draws a shower while listening to Careless Whisper. I'm never gonna dance again. Guilty feet have got no rhythm, but it's easier to pretend. No, I'm not a fool.
Twitch, Regulos, having your name on a cup is just wrong. Sean is just wrong. All right, you know what, man? You're not.
Alternating current is bad. Alternating current causes massive deaths. Oh, God. That's like poster child for birth control.
Man, that was my nickname in high school.
PFB? Hey, yo, that was PFB. Hey, guys.
Hey guys.
I am so American, I'm made in China. What?
His parents,
China.
Yeah, his parents honeymooned in Shanghai.
Anyways, we're getting close to the end of the live stream, and we haven't even talked about our news. So I'm going to rip through that real quick.
Yeah.
New Year's hours. We will actually be closed on the 31st of the 1st to ring in the new year and also to give us some time with our families.
And to sleep off the hangovers.
Well, kind of, not really. I has kids to take care of. So, that and like, again, I've been out of like the whole partying thing for a long time. I'd rather just stay up late and play video games or binge watch something and not feel like death the next day. But you do you, man. You do you. You enjoy your boxed wine.
I mean, and Chris brings up a
Yo,
good
dog,
point. Yeah,
you like to
drinking
get drunk and play games. So I made a game about drinking wine so you can drink while
Actually,
you drink.
we haven't played PUBG in a while. That was always the drinking game.
We should do that.
Yeah, I'm down.
Let's play PUBG this week. I'll convince Casey to play now that you can pay $10 to change your name.
No, gaming chicken shall return.
No, she doesn't want to. You just reminded me of a dude that does vaping reviews, and his name is Twisted420, and he's like, his intro, he's always like, Twisted420, yes, returned, and he does it to like make fun of himself. So maybe we should have kind of like an AVA live stream intro that's kind of like that, but really it's just us like.
Regulos, mine are all growed up, so we're going to the casino.
Okay,
All right.
well, that's sweet.
Yeah.
I go to the casino too. I haven't been to one in a long time. I mean, I'll be in CES, so maybe. I have bad luck though, so I'm gonna pass probably. But speaking of New Year's, we are currently having an end of the year sales event, so that means it's going on until an end of the year. That's why we called it end of the year sales event. End of the year holiday ends on December 31st. For those of you that don't know when the end of the year is, but it's okay, we still love you. It is a site-wide sale on configurations, so gaming PCs, desktops, workstations, laptops. No, we will not sell you a fan under the discount. Configurations only. And since Sean was on the topic of PUBG, we are still offering our PUBG bundle that also is until the end of the year. You have to purchase, though, a qualifying Core i5, i7 processor-based device. Not just a CPU, but a processor-based device. You must. For the value of $49.99. It includes the exclusive in-game Intel wearable, pants, and clothes, and hats.
All right, regulars.
No Intel wearable guns.
Drinking game to the Netflix Sabrina reboot. Every time they say Satan, take a drink. You'll be dead in 5 minutes. There's a wait. Whoa,
There's an even better drinking game for the holidays.
There's a Sabrina reboot.
What? Where have you been? And stop it with the spoilers!
Of course it sucks. Fuller House sucked.
What? What? Thanks for joining us, guys. We'll see you next year. Be safe. Have a happy new year.
Bye, guys.
Later.